Radical Normal.
نه چی بود؟ توی توی یکی دیگه
آمنه
الف
آمنه کجا سیگفته و برم بیا
یادم رفت
آمنه
دال
کدام گرست یک سوسه دارم
خانه رو پاک میکردم
کدامی خانه رو پاک میکردی؟ کدامی؟
در روی خانه افتیده بود باز گفتم یک کمک کتاب بخوانم
سپه تو حالی تو خانه میتونی؟
از زنم سایه یاد گرفتم
جمیله؟
جمیله او روز امروی اولاداش درس میخوانه
حالی او بعدی که تو هم وادمو تو بکنی؟
درس خواندن که کاری بدی نیست
من ضربه زبان کشیده دوباره من زبان بازی میکنی ها؟ به اجازه من خانه همسایه منی کیج آلی کتابم میخوانی؟ تو زنی همسایه من رو دیوانه کردی
الهی مادر میمرد که این روزه سرت نمیدید
شاگل جان تو خمیالا مردی
بخی دخترم الهی دیستاش میدم میشد که زارش زنش نشان نمیداد بخی دختر مادر بخی
آزن زبان تا بگی میفهمی کی را میگی؟
اگو بیادر زاده ایت است این دخترت است
راست میگه زن چی با درس خواندن اما تو نیست؟
کل چیز خدا بر شما مرد آفریده
بلا نزنه شما را کازو چشمای سرس کجا رفتی دختر؟
رفت خانه کی خانه جمیله رفت کنم
جمیله او نموزن آخر خانه ای دختر خراب میکنه
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? This is Damon Scranton coming to you from Pasadena, California. This is Radical Normal, Global Radical Normal. Again, I'm just going to cut to the chase. I'm here in Pasadena. Max is on tech. He is in Brooklyn, New York. And we are graced with the presence of Joanna Sherman this evening of Bond Street Theater, and she's coming to us from Bond Street in New York. What's up, Joanna?
Well, it's good to be here, David. What's up with you?
I haven't seen you in so long. It's so wonderful to see your face.
Yeah, well, we miss you here in New York City. When you coming back?
You know, when we fly again is for the gods.
I miss it too. You know, we're like big travelers, and to not travel is really so weird.
The whole essence of your work is like traveling the globe, and
absolutely, yeah. We've have like projects all over the place. So, you know, it's really strange to be stuck here, but it's given us a chance to think about things and, you know, establish partnerships. We're not sitting idly. We're not sitting here.
So Bond Street Theater has been along for how long?
Since the late 70s, we came along kind of after that whole political theater movement, and we started as a political theater company right here in New York and doing some street theater, very kind of broad burlesque kind of stuff like maybe like San Francisco Mime Troupe. And you know, it's like preaching to the choir. So we started to travel more, and the more we started to travel, especially to some places around the world, we started to see that there were way more issues that we could talk about. And so that really started the journey of using theater about social justice, as we always had, but just expanding our vocabulary to take in the world of issues So it's not like, oh, they're going to build a highway over there, let's stop them. No, it's like, it's helping people, giving people a voice, where the people that don't have a voice, working with marginalized communities that feel that they don't have a voice or they don't know that they have a voice, and just opening that door. So it's not empowering, it's more like opening the door to their power, really.
Empowerment is a word that comes up time and time again in your literature. I don't want to lose it. Can you talk about the video that we just watched at the top of the show? Just give us a little context for that.
Yes. Something I'm very proud of. This is one of our all women's theater companies in Afghanistan that we taught, we inspired, we gathered the girls together and said, you know, men have been playing the parts of women on the stage. And I must say, doing a pretty bad job of it. Mince around the stage, and it involved a lot of crying, weeping. And I'd say it's like, this is what you think women do. They mince around the stage and weep a lot. Come on. So I said, if you are, you know, we work a lot in body language. If you're going to play a woman, let's look at how a woman walks. How does she hold herself? How does she move? How does she speak? You know, I help them if they're going to play women to do that. But also at the same time, we created 4 all women's theater companies, one in Herat, one in Kandahar, one in Kabul, and one in Jalalabad. And they exist. I hope they still exist. You know, things are very difficult right now, so I can't vouch for it. But even if those girls that we worked with, and usually it was like either girls up to the age of marriageable, like up to maybe 20 latest, and then those over 35, the sort of generation gap. Because in the between there, you had to get married and have a lot of children and you couldn't perform. But after 35, they were like, I'm finished having kids. I had 6, I gave you 6 kids, I'm done. So it was like this sort of generation gap. But these women were powerful and mighty. Once you open that door, like I'm talking about, they just blossom, and they play the parts of the men. And that was a girl playing the part of the husband. And she was good.
She was fierce.
She was fierce. And I'll tell you, you know, we have many other examples of them. They're fierce and they're not afraid to, like, really, they know what the abusive husband looks like and sounds like and walks like. They know that body language real well. So they didn't need as much coaching in body language work, really. They weren't smart.
Joanna, this is going to be a very difficult discussion because I'm going to want to go on for like 2 hours, but we're going to have to.
Yes.
There's so much. No, empowerment, education. We're going to look at a bunch of pictures from Afghanistan.
Yeah. We worked there for 20 years, so we got lots of pictures. Well, 18 years.
I can't even, we'll look at some of them.
Yeah.
League of Professional Women's Theater, the Lee Reynolds Award. You won that? Yes,
that was really a wonderful surprise. That was for,
Don't stop me.
Okay.
The Otto Rene Castillo Award for Political Theater. You received that. The Peter Cooper Public Service Award. You received that. You have a book about all this stuff in Afghanistan. Now you can talk about the awards.
There's nothing more to say, really. The award from the Peter Cooper Award was from Cooper Union, that was right.
No, what does it mean to be recognized for somebody who goes around the globe and helps empower women largely?
It's always nice to be recognized for your work, but I think the main thing is that we want to let more people know that theater is really useful. It really is useful, and usually what I say is it's good for 2 things. One is you can make a play about anything, and so it's a really good way to get information out to the public, and especially for non-literate communities. Act it out. Everybody wants to see it, and you make it a little funny. And they love it. And you can make a play really about, new agricultural techniques or whatever you want. And number 2, just the idea of theater training teaches people how to stand up straight, how to speak out, how to hold your head, don't tilt it, don't wobble from side to side, basic leadership, teamwork, how to work as a team. They're inventing their own shows as a group, how to not, how to really work together and listen to each other. It's that's theater training. That's theater 101. So it's very useful.
All right, so
yeah.
101. We have so many photos to look at. Max, can we start rolling them? And I'm also just gonna say, like, 1984, you were in Jerusalem. 87, Montreal. 90, East Berlin. 99, Macedonia. 91 and 96, Brazil. 2005, the Balkans, close to my heart. 2002, your company was in Haiti after the earthquake. Afghanistan, Myanmar, like the list is very, very long.
Yes, yeah, you've been around. Yeah, I think the first couple of photos are about our work in refugee camps, and that kind of opened up the door for us. This is in Kosovo, this is during the Kosovar War. And we worked in the Balkans for about 6-8 years. And, people say, well, what do you do in a refugee camp? How are you doing theater in refugee? Actually, people ask me, how much do you charge for tickets for the refugees? It's like, we're not charging anything. Come on, we're pulling up a piece of dirt. That's our stage, really. Yeah. I think in the next slide, you actually see the piece of dirt well, that's in Haiti, okay? And they're just out, find a spot and just go. This is in Myanmar, and this was a squatter settlement in the north of Yangon. And it's really sad what's going on in Myanmar now, but, we were there for a long time, and, you can see how it started, and you'll see.
That's a whole nother conversation. Like, are you in touch with people there? Do you know what's going on right now with the whole
internet is blocked. I try to get in touch with them. They're my dear friends, and I've sent in through WhatsApp and through Facebook and through, but I think the internet has just been blocked. And when we arrived in Myanmar, the internet was blocked too. So we saw it go through the whole full circle, which is really tragic. So I think you'll see a little bit later on, a little bit more of that work. But the work in refugee camps, I think, really proved a lot to us about, how people respond to theater and how people don't have a voice, and giving them a voice is really, essential. So.
Absolutely. So much of your work has to do with voting rights and educating the electorate.
Yeah, I think we'll see a little bit of that. That was one of the projects we did in Afghanistan. Interesting that we went through our own electoral dilemmas, but yeah, we worked on election rights. When we arrived in Afghanistan, it was really right after 2001. So, the Taliban were, I think it was during the American bombing. So the refugee camps we were working on in Pakistan had all the people that had fled from, during the war, during the Mujahideen, during the civil wars, and then during the Taliban, and then the Taliban themselves during the American bombing. So it was this really very interesting mix of people. Artists find each other, and we found this group because, of course, a lot of the people that fled were those people who were the playwrights and the actors and the people who could not practice their craft. And they were the creme de la creme. They were the best of Afghanistan. And they fled, some fled to Iran, but many of them fled to Afghanistan. And these were some of the best actors. And we said, well, look, next year, let's meet in Kabul and we'll create a play together. And they were like, yes, okay, next year we'll meet in Kabul, sure. It happened though, we did.
No, this photo is like the circle of life. I love this picture, like arena stages, theater in the round is so magical to me. But what is it like to be in a place like Kabul in 2002?
Well, it was not like that first picture you have of Yemen. It was like that, like not stone upon stone, but to see the resilience of people, because they would create their little shop under two pieces of wall leaning against each other, and there'd be a little shop in there. There'd be no facade of a building, but there'd be a family on that second floor. I mean, it was incredible. And we lived at the university. Like a lot of it, the university was bombed out, but we lived in a kind of office space in the university and worked together every day and interviewed people and got stories and created a show called Beyond the Mirror, which we don't have photographs of that, but it was a really beautiful show. And we brought the Afghans to the United States twice, in 2005 and 2009, with the show about the war. And videos of video interviews, them telling them stories about during the Civil War, during the Taliban, very moving. And we did it in a kind of a lot of abstracted ways, because I believe in our theater that sometimes instead of doing it realistically, where you're kind of put off, sometimes it's better to do it symbolically, so that you can look at it. You're not like there's a scene with a baby and a landmine. Well, you don't want to see baby parts flying around the stage. So we did it with like a rag puppet, and everyone got it when the baby rag puppet touches the landmine. And they're sobbing in the audience. So it's better to just have that step back, that one step removal, rather than be realistic. Well, you can be realistic in films. I'll leave that to David Lynch, or whatever.
No, you speak the speak and walk the walk. Your work speaks for itself.
Yeah, this picture is us working with the girls, and we have an exercise calling your name over the mountain. And a lot of the girls, they never hear their name. You don't mention a girl's name. You don't mention your wife's name. And you would say, wife, get me a drink, or daughter, do this. So the girls never hear their name. So we had them there yelling their name one by one, and then everyone echoes. And it was so profound because, they come up to me and afterwards they said, this is the first time I've heard my name. Yes, I am me. I am Marzia. I am me. The first time I felt like an individual. So it's a very powerful exercise. I don't know if people here maybe have done that, but you have this lineup and one by one, and then they have to come in front of the whole crowd and yell your name, and then the whole wall of people answers you back. It's so verifying. It's empowering. It really is.
No, it is. My name's Damon Scranton, but my middle name is Amir, and I have struggled to embrace that my whole life. And I'm coming to terms with it recently.
That's a very grand name, Amir.
I know. It's princely.
Yes, it is. It's very royal.
I love these photos because they're all these women watching theater.
Exactly, and a lot of these girls, they said like, oh, I could do that. I could be on the stage. Whoa, they never thought for a minute that would be something they could do. But it's dangerous, I have to say. I met some of the Afghan refugees in Malaysia when we were there working with refugees, and they had escaped because it's dangerous. If you're on television or even doing theater like this, it's, this one, they were actually from home to home, and they did the show about voting rights in the women's homes. And they gathered women from the neighborhood and they did the show. And the women were so delighted to have a show in their house that sometimes they did it 2 and 3 times. They'd say, oh, we do the show again. And they'd like, oh, okay. And they would do the show again and again. So it was really so beautiful. And this is just a rehearsal of one of the shows that we did about backbiters, gossips. And, we'd like to have some comic characters, maybe it's the funny uncle. In this case, it's the gossipy women in the marketplace. And they would come back and they put back their burqa and they'd say, do you know that so-and-so is going to be going to college? Oh, she's going to be wearing lipstick. Oh, terrible. It's like gossiping about girls basically wanting to do things that, go to school or get an education, be a doctor, But the gossips are sort of the go-between the audience. Because maybe the audience is thinking like they shouldn't be going to school. This is in the women's prison. And
you did prison work. Seriously, this keeps going deeper and deeper.
that was one of the places that we performed in the prisons. Our women's groups performed in the prisons in many, many different areas. And this is the one in Herat. And they presented a show about child marriage. And, you know, we do this kind of forum theater thing at the end where we get women up from the stage to say, well, what would you say to the abusive husband that wants to sell his daughter at age 13 to his good friend who's 50? And they would get up on that stage and they would tell him off. They were not shy at all about getting up on that stage and answering back. It was really quite amazing. And the husband, the woman playing the husband said like, but all of our women who get married at 13, and you know, and the whole audience said, that's why we're here. That's why we're in prison, because they ran away from these forced marriages at these tender young ages. Things are changing, you know, I shouldn't paint such a black picture, but you know, things are changing little by little. And that's why I'm so afraid of turning back the time here with this new situation in Afghanistan.
I'm telling you, this is a 2 or 3 hour conversation that is condensed into a very short time. This is in the prison also.
Yeah, this is the Juvenile Correction Center. These are girls that are under 18. And most of them are there for, again, moral crimes, running away from home. Basically, they ran away they didn't want to get married. They ran away from forced marriages. So it's really sad, but then, you know, then they put them in prison.
Wow.
Oh, this is one of our men's groups. You know, we didn't like leave the men by, we work with the men and we work with the women. So, you know.
No, we were saying that earlier. It's so interesting because of the gender segregation. Like you work with women's groups, but men's groups also, and the twain shall meet. And
I have to explain, you know, it's not just me, you know, we have a company of people. And so.
No, I know.
And then the women are working with the women and, you know, that's how it kind of divides up. So I particularly, I'm proud of our work with the women because it's a lot harder, of course. The men's groups are still alive and well and primo as well. So. Do
you get to work with the men or only the men get to work with the men?
You know, as a foreign woman, I can do whatever I want. I'm some sort of third sex, really, or fifth sex, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, I can go hang out with the men perfectly fine. The women can't, but I can.
Work it. Do you know, this is a total side note. In the Balkans, because I've done a lot of work there, there's the Kanun. The Kanun is the religious text that like even goes beyond government law. And women in rural Albania and the Balkans can change their gender and start living as men for property right because they were so ravaged by war over time that women couldn't travel and they couldn't own property. So there's this population of women from like the 30s to the 80s who just lived as men and were accepted in the community. And it makes me think of that a little bit. Yeah, there is also in Afghanistan, some people raise their daughters as men, and then at some point they want to marry them off and the daughters are like, no way, I'm not gonna, I'm happy being a guy and I'm not gonna go in that direction, and they don't wanna go there. Or they learn how to fight. And so the husband goes to punch them and they go like, oh yeah, boom, boom. And they're like, okay. So it's good to learn those fighting skills. Street fighter. I didn't know it was going to take that turn. We got a couple more photos and then we have a video to get to. Yeah, this was another project that we did, but I won't go into great length at it. I'll just say it was a community improvement project where the teams of people, and it was 500 youth over the whole country, and they decided on their own community improvement project, which was very successful. And here they are cleaning up the trash. And here they are working with street children. So it was very successful in that they all had their own particular project that they did. You bring people together and you make change through theater. It's true. Like theater, you can learn so much about so many things through theater. And I think that's what your company Yeah, and this is actually what we try to promote, when we go down to Washington to speak about things, with our representatives. I said, like, theater matters. Theater really is successful. Theater is conflict resolution. What play, what film what book have you ever read that wasn't about a conflict, and how
it got resolved. It is conflict resolution.
And this is food on the table right here.
Yes, this is in Myanmar. This is after Hurricane Nargis. There were a lot of orphan children, and they lived in the monastery schools. The monasteries kind of took them in. And the partner that we were working with, Tukuma Kaite, this kind of a group that became a theater group and just started working with the kids with whatever skills they had. They weren't trained to work with kids, and they just, were singing songs and making puppets and doing stuff. And we said, oh, we could come along and do it with you. And so we did. And I think the next slide is we created the show about hand washing, because everyone said, oh, these kids are, they have no idea about hygiene. Just teach them to wash their hands. And so we did a show about hand washing. And that's the hand washing show. And this is the result if you don't wash your hands. They're clearly demonstrating that. But it was funny. It was kind of a clown show. And here's for, again, another monastery school doing the show. So, what we found was that, they learned to wash their hands and use soap. But then we found out that by the latrines, there was no soap and there was no water. So we said, we should be doing the show for the adults. The kids know what to do, but the adults have to get them some soap and water.
All right, I think we have a video to watch now. I'm keeping an eye on the clock because we're at 9:30 your time.
Yeah, this is with Takuma Kaite, Balpone.
Your photos and videos are the best. So let's watch this video. And do you want to intro it before we watch it, or you want to talk
just
about it?
Very briefly, to sort of as a test case. Now, this is much more recent. As Myanmar progressed, this was sort of a test case. Could we do a show that was about, cronies getting their comeuppance, and a court scene, which had nothing could be shown like that. But we did it, and it was successful, and we didn't get hauled off to jail. I don't think we do today, but
I'm glad you didn't get thrown into jail while you were there.
Well, I'm not so afraid for myself. I'd just be deported, but our friends in the group had been in jail. So I did not, we leave it to them to tell us what we can do and what we cannot do. We do not assert ourselves in that way by any means. So, but I think you'll enjoy it because it's a little funny bit.
All right, we'll watch this. I'll see you on the flip side.
No, it's not a miracle. It is 75 all natural ingredients not available in any stores. And today, my friends, for you and for you, I give it to you for the low, low price of 20,000 chats.
ဒါကသဘာဝပစ္စည်း85မျိုးနဲ့ပေါ်ဆက်ထားတဲ့ဘိတ်ကလာတဲ့ငံပြားကြီးမဟုတ်ပါဘူးတဲ့ဒါကအိဆာဆေးရအားတိုးစေးပါခင်ဗျာအဲ့ဒါကိုဆရာကြီးတပလင်းကို2000နဲ့ရောင်းပါမယ်တဲ့2000ပါ2000
တပည့်နဲ့1000တော့ဘယ်သူကဝင်နိုင်မှာလဲ
Oh, nice lady. Then 15,000 chats.
1000ပဲဆိုရင်ရော
ဝင်နိုင်သေးပါဘူး
20,000 chats, 10,000 chats.
1000ဆိုရင်ရောဗျာ
အိုးဝယ်သေး
Well then, for you, ladies and gentlemen, only 5,000 chats and 2 bottles of Scaptomantoa's magic elixir.
9000နဲ့ပါခင်ဗျာ9000နဲ့ပါနှစ်ပလင်းကို9000နဲ့ပါနှစ်ပလင်း9000ပါနှစ်ပလင်း9000ပါ
Try it before you buy it. Give me a handkerchief and we'll put a few drops on there.
အဲ့တော့ချက်ချင်းဝယ်ကြမလို့ပါဘူးတဲ့အရင်စမ်းဖို့အတွက်ကိုအရင်စမ်းကြည့်လို့ရပါတယ်လက်ကိုက်မွာလေးပြချပေးပါလက်ကိုက်မွာလေးလက်ကိုက်မွာလေးတွေလက်ကိုက်မွာလေးပြချပေးပါခင်ဗျာလက်ကိုက်မွာလေး
Where's one?
လက်ကိုက်မွာလေးပြချပေးပါခင်ဗျာလက်ကိုက်မွာလေး
Oh, lady.
ဒါပါဆောက်တယ်ဖြစ်နေတာ
Your work is so infused in commedia. There's so much physical comedy to it.
Yeah, and that was our idea. Like people said, why are you doing Balpone? Which is very, it's of the old Ben Jonson Shakespearean era that is very stylized. But if you look at Burmese or Myanmar theater, it is very stylized. And it is, I thought, very comedic. And I thought that it would be a good marriage. But it took a while for them to figure out why and how and stuff. And also they didn't want to do anything old. They were sick of their stuff because under the regime, they were not allowed to do any modern theater. So they wanted to do something modern. And they said, we don't want to do that old stuff. But as we started to look at the characters and the costumes and the dance and the set pieces and how fabulous it was, and we got so interested, we got them interested again. It's like, oh, you should see this guy, and oh, you should see that. And so when we started to put the show together, it was kind of a very interesting blend of their style and our kind of Western commedia brought together. And I think that well, yeah, we had a great time putting it together. So I hope we can do it again. We'll see. It was
brilliant.
Yeah.
So we have another batch of photos, and it's Haiti and
Malaysia, the Rohingya refugees in Malaysia, yeah. And you know, we went to Myanmar to work with the Rohingya refugees, the Rohingya in Myanmar, but that was impossible. But we could work with the Rohingya in Malaysia. But this is working in Haiti after the earthquake, and working with a women's group, a political group called Favalek. And they were not theater performers, they were political activists, but they wanted to learn theater so they could use theater as a tool to speak to the masses about the sexual violence in the, not refugee camps, IDP camps, internally displaced people. And they created these shows that were, you know, really heart and soul. They poured their hearts into it, and they were great because they were heartful and impassioned, but also had music and dancing and that lively stuff that we love so much. So
Phil Lilienthal, who was a guest a few weeks ago, who runs Global Camps Africa, kept coming back to music.
Yeah,
how important music is.
Yes, it definitely is really important, and live music is the best. Yeah, we use it as much as we can. And these are the Rohingya refugees, and you know, Malaysia is not a signatory to the UN protocols on refugees. So refugees there have a very hard time, but there's refugees from 20 different countries, from all of the major Muslim countries, because Malaysia is kind of a moderate Muslim country, so they feel safer there. So they come from Iran, Iraq, Palestine, Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, really across the world. So we worked mainly with the women there, and they created their own shows about what the issues were that were facing them. Like if you get stopped by the police, they didn't want to be deported back to Myanmar. They went through, terrible experiences with traffickers getting to Malaysia. Some of the stories were really horrific, and they find themselves there. And so one of their issues is being stopped by the police. Another major issue was you could be taken advantage. You're very vulnerable to, if you find some employment, maybe the employer decides not to pay you because he can. It's, you have no rights. You can't go to anywhere. Our play that we did with Masakini Theater and also with them was about some of the things that you can do. So we partnered with Asylum Access, which is a really great organization that works with refugees and asylum access. They let them know what their rights are. So they have various places they work around the world. It was a really good partnership because we interpreted their PowerPoint into a live play, in live scenes about the issues. So we brought their PowerPoint to life, and that was very, very effective because they're not, most of them do not read or write. That's what they didn't teach them in Myanmar. The Rohingya were kind of stateless people. They got no health care, no education, no nothing. So it was, theater saved the day. We could say that, theater saved the day.
We're doing a project at Fort Greene Preparatory Academy in Fort Greene online. and it's about abolitionism in Brooklyn. And I was trying to get the kids to understand like modern slavery, and the closest thing I could come up with was indentured servitude in, say, Qatar, where they're bringing in all these Nepalese people and taking their passports and making them work to buy their passports back. And like, I don't know, there are a lot of things that Americans just don't really, they're not on our radar map.
Yes, we really do have to get the word out that we are very lucky to be here and to have a house and a couch and a laptop and access. We're so incredibly lucky. And after I've been into some of these places, I walk into my apartment and I go like, wow, the floor is so flat. Amazing. Wow, I can go to the sink and I can turn on cold water. I can turn on hot water. I can turn on both together. The little things that we just take for granted. And, I don't have to go outside in the cold weather to go to the bathroom, into the, outhouse. Yeah, so I'm very thankful. If anything, this work makes you thankful for what it is that we have, and makes you want to share, it makes you want to get out there and help in any way you can.
Well, all the places that I've ever traveled, the most kind and generous people have been the poorest and the most in need. And that's always been a very strange paradox to me. The wealthier you are, you hoard your money, and the less you have, the more you give to people.
Isn't that amazing? I find that true as well, really. Very gracious, very welcoming. There's not that thing about being a foreigner. Certainly in some places, yes, obviously, we weren't hanging out with the Taliban. I don't think they were, but for the most part, people are really, if there's anything I can say, it's like, people are people wherever you go. There really are just people, whether they're, 17 years old, they're having trouble with their parents and they want to do this, but the parents don't let them, the same issues. Like we did this project in Russia with teenagers that were refugees in St. Petersburg, but they were refugees from Tajikistan, Afghanistan, etc. And they did a show, and what show did they write? It was like the troubles of, yes, being isolated because they didn't speak Russian, so yes, but mostly being isolated because they're teenagers, and teenagers always feel a bit isolated and nobody understands me and that kind of thing. So they did a show about being a teenager, basically.
A 14-year-old is a 14-year-old no matter where you go.
That's true. It's true. Yes.
Last question before you introduce the final video. What keeps you going? How do you keep doing what you're doing now in this environment? Like I really want to tie it back to what's going on in this country right now, and voting rights and Georgia and other things, but
our board of directors is asking us, like, how come you don't work here? And for the most part, we haven't been working here because I feel that we have more NGOs and more organizations that are taking care of people. And one of our, we have these protocols, how we choose countries to go to, because we can't be everywhere. So we have these 10 protocols. First of all, we have to be able to make an impact. But one thing is that if there's already a lot of NGOs already working there or doing the work that we would do, let's find somewhere where our work really is going to make a major impact. But I think that we're starting to look at situations here. And there's a lot of theater companies around the country, and there's a lot of activist theater companies. I'd be very happy to share what we know and what we've gathered from our travels and share it with any theater company in the NET gang. I always appreciate that.
Well, when you talk about Afghan women, it makes me think about African-American women in this country. And activism right now.
And activism right now, especially Georgia, something like that. Or, it's, I think that there's work for us to do. And I think it's just finding the right partners. And if you have any ideas, if you have any specific, let me know.
Oh, I'm just a wealth of networking
Yeah.
madness. Please.
I just can't wait to leave the house. It'd be so nice to be able to go anywhere. We've been doing a lot of archiving of our past adventures, which is valuable. It's got to be done. We had all this stuff on VHS and beta and reel to reel and we were talking about before. So we're finally digitalizing all this stuff. So it's been valuable to have this time. Really, I'm thankful. But I can't wait to get on the road again. And we're supposed to have gone to Afghanistan to work in the prisons again and go to Egypt to work with these women and youth in Aswan. We're just waiting to be able to go. So we have projects lined up. Here we are.
I know you do.
Yep.
You want to set up this last video, the one that makes me weep?
This was again for the election project, and you saw some of the pictures, but we had the men's group talking about the elections, what voting is. No, it's not un-Islamic to vote. Why Muhammad and his followers that had the second caliphs were voted on. It is Islamic. It's not some crazy Western idea, that sort of thing. And then also for the women and the men, that tell them that women have the right to vote. And they said, well, they don't know anything. How could they vote? It's like, well, they don't know anything because you didn't tell them anything. But you have to inform them. You have to allow them to be informed. You're like a country walking on one leg. You have to walk on two legs if you want to be able to run. So we present the argument on the stage, both in the men's show and the women's show. And the women perform just for the women and let them know they have the right to vote and what voting is and why they should vote and why they should keep informed and how voting affects them and that they should have a voice, et cetera. So, it's been very effective. And that picture we saw of the women in that performing in women's homes, that was about the right to vote.
It goes back to the first video where the woman was like, I've learned to read. And the moment when her husband smacks her, that's a very theatrical moment that I don't need to hear what they're saying. I just know exactly what's happening and it cuts to the chase. Like you said, it's neat, it's clean, it's tidy.
Yeah, and what you see is what you get. It's not like it's all about words. It's about actions and body language and these kind of symbols, the frames of the grandparents looking back on the situation. That was that.
So we are remarkably on schedule. I want to thank you so much. It's been really wonderful to have a conversation with you. I just want to tell people out there that Walter Thompson's going to be on in 2 weeks on the 8th of March. Walter Thompson Orchestra. That's going to be crazy.
Oh, right. Yes. Yeah.
It's like a net festival. Network of ensemble theaters are everywhere on this show.
Yes, thank you for that opportunity. I think it's really very valuable. And, we're all working for social justice in our own ways. And most of us at NET, that's our goal. We're artists and we're activists. So this is important. And to let people know that theater is a powerful voice for peace and justice, and it's useful. It's not just a fluffy thing that you pay lots of money to see on Broadway. It's a powerful, useful thing.
Just keep on doing what you're doing, Joanna. Seriously.
I'm trying. Thank you. Thank you for your support. I really appreciate it. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm a donor. I give you $10 a month.
Yay, David. Yes. Everyone is to go to the website and hear all the stories.
Oh, wait. Max, isn't there that one last photo? Is there a Bond Street photo? All right. La, 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 Bond Street Theater.
Oh, Phil. Believe me, I could tell many stories. I was talking fast like a New Yorker,
Fill the time. You got 30 seconds.
I have 30 seconds. Tell another story. A story about.
Tell us about the Miro photos behind you, the artwork.
The artwork. Oh my goodness, I forget that they're there. But yeah, I would say that the Rohingya women in Malaysia, really, we have to remember them because they have a very difficult time. And you know, that was another project we're going back to is Malaysia and working with the Rohingya refugees and the other refugees as well. I mean, they're all in similar situation. But knowing the journey of the traffickers, and you know, now the traffickers are bringing young brides, you know, and they're all married at very young ages, and they traffic these women. So it's I'm very much the trafficking issue is also really a topic we're really looking at right now. So, but see how nice and happy they are. Our women there, you know.
Oh, that's right. Well, we saw the Bond Street. Hopefully people got the address. And then there's this photo too. People standing up, people supporting people. That's what we need.
Yes. See, here we are, www.bondstreet.org. Yes. We're not hard to find.
All right. So we'll watch this last video. Thank you so much. Love to Manhattan.
Manhattan. Yes.
Peace. Thank you.
Radical Normal.